The red sun of Xerion 7 beat down hard on Jake Morrison's helmet as he crawled up the rocky hill. His green uniform was already soaked with sweat. Behind him, 3 other Marines followed quietly. They had been walking across this dead planet for 6 hours now. "Anything yet, Jake?" asked Private Danny Kim through the radio. "Nothing but rocks and more rocks," Jake whispered back. He looked through his binoculars at the empty land ahead. The mission was simple. Find out if this planet had anything useful. So far, they had found nothing. Suddenly, the sky above them filled with a loud roaring sound. Jake looked up and saw something that made his heart jump. A silver ship was falling from the sky like a burning star. It was not human. The ship was long and thin with strange curves that no human would ever build. "Holy cow," said Corporal Ben Torres. "That's not one of ours." The alien ship crashed into a deep canyon about 2 miles away. Smoke and fire shot up into the air. Jake felt the ground shake under his feet. "Should we check it out?" asked Private Amy Clark. Jake thought for a moment. Their orders were to explore and report back. An alien crash was definitely something to report. "Yeah, let's go have a look, but we stay back and just watch." The 4 Marines moved carefully toward the crash site. As they got closer, Jake could see that the ship had hit the canyon wall hard. Metal pieces were scattered everywhere. Some parts were still glowing hot. They climbed up to a high spot where they could look down into the canyon. Jake used his binoculars to see better. What he saw made him forget to breathe. 3 tall figures were walking around near the broken ship. They looked almost human, but were much taller. Their skin was blue-gray, and they wore black armor that seemed to shine in the light. One of them was clearly hurt and walking slowly. "Are those aliens?" Danny whispered. "Looks like it," Jake said. He watched as the 3 figures talked to each other. Even from far away, he could tell they were arguing about something. Then Jake saw something that made his blood run cold. The 2 healthy aliens were walking away from the hurt one. They were leaving their injured friend behind. "They're just walking away," Amy said. "Why would they do that?" Jake watched as the hurt alien fell to the ground. Even from this distance, he could see that it was badly injured. The alien tried to stand up, but fell again. The other 2 kept walking and never looked back. "That's messed up," Ben said. "Who leaves their buddy behind like that?" Jake kept watching through his binoculars. The injured alien was definitely female, he realized. Her armor was different from the others, with gold markings that caught the light. She was trying to crawl toward some shelter, but moving very slowly. "We should call this in," Danny said. "The captain needs to know about this." Jake picked up his radio. "Base, this is Scout Team Alpha. We have a situation." Captain Lisa Hayes' voice came back clear and strong. "What's your status, Morrison?" "We found an alien crash site. 3 survivors. 2 of them abandoned the 3rd one. The injured one is still alive." There was a long pause. "Stay back and observe only. Do not engage. That's an order." "Copy that, Captain." But as Jake watched, something inside him started to burn. The alien woman was clearly dying. She had stopped moving and was just lying there in the dirt. Her own people had left her to die alone. "Jake," Amy said quietly, "we can't just watch her die." "Orders are orders," Ben said. But even he sounded unsure. Jake looked at his team. They were all good people. None of them wanted to watch someone die when they might be able to help. The alien woman moved again, trying one more time to reach the shade of a broken piece of her ship. She made it about 3 feet before collapsing again. "Damn it," Jake said under his breath. "What are you thinking?" Danny asked. Jake was thinking about his little sister back home. When she was 8, she had fallen off her bike and broken her arm. 3 older kids had been with her, but they all ran away when she got hurt. They left her crying and alone on the sidewalk. A neighbor had found her an hour later. Jake had never forgotten how angry that made him feel. "I'm thinking that's somebody's daughter down there," Jake said. His radio crackled to life. "Morrison, report your status." "Still observing, Captain." "Good. Remember, No contact with the aliens. We don't know if they're friendly. Jake looked at the dying woman in the canyon. She didn't look very dangerous right now. She looked like someone who needed help. Jake, don't do anything stupid, Ben warned. But Jake was already checking his medical kit. He had bandages, pain medicine, and antibiotics. Maybe not enough to save her, but maybe enough to give her a chance. You guys stay here, he said, standing up. Where are you going? Amy asked, but she already knew. To do what's right, Jake said. He started climbing down into the canyon, ignoring the voices of his team calling after him. His radio was buzzing, with Captain Hayes demanding to know what was happening. Jake turned it off. The alien woman was unconscious when he reached her. Up close, she was even more impressive. She was about 7 feet tall with long silver hair. Her face was beautiful but very pale. Blood was seeping through cracks in her armor. Jake knelt beside her and gently touched her shoulder. Hey there. I'm here to help. Her strange purple eyes opened and looked at him with surprise and fear. The alien woman tried to move away from Jake, but she was too weak. Her purple eyes were full of pain and anger. Stay back, primitive creature, she said in perfect English. Her voice was deep and musical, but cold as ice. I do not need help. From a lower species. Jake was surprised she could speak his language. Look, lady, you're hurt pretty bad. Let me help you. I am Princess Zarathel of the Valthani Empire, she said, trying to sit up. I would rather die with honor than owe my life to whatever you are. I'm human, Jake said calmly, and I'm trying to save your life. She laughed, but it turned into a cough that brought up blue blood. Humans, I have heard of your weak species. You care for those who cannot care for themselves. How pathetic. Jake ignored her insults and looked at her injuries. Her left leg was twisted in a bad way, definitely broken. He could see blood soaking through her armor near her ribs. She needed help, fast. Your own people left you here to die, Jake said as he opened his medical kit. How is that honorable? Zarathel's face went dark. They followed our laws. The weak must not slow down the strong. It is the way of my people. That's a pretty cold way to live, Jake said. He pulled out a bandage. This might hurt. She watched, him with suspicious eyes as he carefully cleaned the blood from her face. Why do you do this? What do you want from me? I don't want anything. You're hurt, and I can help. That's enough. This seemed to confuse her even more. But I am your enemy. My people have fought wars with species like yours. Jake shrugged. Right now you're just someone who needs help. He gave her a shot of pain medicine from his kit. She tried to refuse it at first, but the pain was too much. After a few minutes, her breathing became easier. Better? Jake asked. She nodded slowly, still watching him like he might attack her at any moment. Jake looked around the crash site. The sun was getting low in the sky and the temperature was dropping fast. He knew that Zerion 7 got very cold at night. Cold enough to kill. We need to get out of here, he said. My people have a pickup point about 50 miles north. 50 miles? Zarathel looked at her broken leg. I cannot walk that far. Then, I'll carry you. She stared at him like he was crazy. You would carry me 50 miles? Through dangerous terrain? Why? Jake thought about it for a moment. Because it's the right thing to do. The right thing. She said the words like they tasted strange. My people do not understand this concept. Jake was wrapping her leg with a metal splint from his kit. What do your people understand? Strength. Victory. Survival of the fittest. She winced as he tightened the bandage. The weak deserve to die so the strong can live. That's a lonely way to think, Jake said. She was quiet for a while, watching him work. Tell me about your people, she said finally. Jake smiled. Well, we're not the strongest species in the galaxy. We're not the smartest either. But we look out for each other. A human saying is that a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. So, you make your whole species weak by helping the weak? No, we make ourselves stronger. When everyone helps everyone else, we all do better. Zarathel shook her head. That makes no sense. Jake finished bandaging her wounds and started looking through the crash debris. He found some pieces of metal that he could use to make a stretcher. "Let me ask you something," Jake said as he worked. "If you were healthy and I was hurt, would you leave me here to die?" "Of course," she said without hesitation. "You are not of my blood, you are nothing to me. But I'm helping you even though you're nothing to me." This made her think. Yes. It is strange. Jake built a simple stretcher using metal from her ship and straps from his gear. It wasn't pretty, but it would work. As he worked, Zarathel told him about her people. The Valthani were warriors who had conquered dozens of worlds. They believed that only the strong had the right to live. Families would abandon sick children. Soldiers would leave wounded comrades behind. "It keeps us strong," she insisted. "Only the best survive to have children. It also means you're all alone when things go bad," Jake pointed out. The temperature was dropping fast now. Jake could see his breath in the air. He helped Zarathel onto the stretcher, being as gentle as he could. "This is going to be a rough trip," he warned her. She looked up at him from the stretcher. "Why do you do this, really? I have been taught that all species act only for their own benefit." Jake thought about his answer as he picked up the stretcher. It was heavier than he expected, but he could manage it. "Maybe that's true for some people," he said. "But humans have this idea that everyone matters. Rich, poor, strong, weak. Everyone deserves a chance to live. Even enemies." Even enemies. They started moving north with Jake pulling the stretcher behind him. The ground was rocky and uneven, making every step difficult. "I do not understand you," Zarathel said after they had been walking for an hour. "What don't you understand? You risk your life for someone who would not do the same for you. You help someone whose people might kill you tomorrow. It is—" She paused, looking for the right word. "It is illogical." Jake smiled, even though she couldn't see his face. "Maybe. But it's also what makes us human." As they traveled through the cold night, Zarathel began to see Jake differently. He could have left her to die like her own people did. Instead, he was risking his life to save hers. For the first time in her life, she began to wonder if strength and honor might mean something different than what she had been taught. By the third day, Jake's shoulders felt like they were on fire. The stretcher seemed to get heavier with every step. His water was running low and his food was almost gone. But he kept walking. Zarathel had been quiet for the last few hours. Jake was worried she might be getting worse, but when he checked on her, she was just thinking. "Jake," she said finally, "how do humans choose their leaders?" "We vote for them," Jake said, wiping sweat from his face. "People pick who they think will do the best job." "Even weak people get to choose?" "Everyone gets to choose. Rich, poor, young, old. One person, one vote." She was quiet again. Among her people, only the strongest warriors could become leaders. The idea that everyone's opinion mattered was completely new to her. They came to a wide crack in the ground that was too wide to jump across. Jake looked for a way around, but the crack seemed to go on for miles in both directions. "There." Zarathel pointed to a fallen tree that crossed the crack like a bridge. "We can cross there." Jake looked at the dead tree. It was narrow and didn't look very stable. "That looks pretty dangerous." "It is the only way," she said. "Leave me here and cross alone. Come back for me later if you can." "Not happening," Jake said. He tied extra ropes around the stretcher to make sure Zarathel wouldn't fall if something went wrong. Crossing the tree bridge was the scariest thing Jake had ever done. The wood creaked and bent under their weight. Halfway across, a piece of bark broke off and fell into the darkness below. They never heard it hit bottom, but they made it across safely. "You could have left me," Zarathel said once they were on solid ground again. "Could have. Didn't want to." "Why?" Jake thought about it as they started walking again. "Because leaving you wouldn't make me stronger. It would make me weaker." "I do not understand." "If I left you behind, I would spend the rest of my life knowing that I let someone die when I could have saved them. That would eat at me forever. It would make me less than I am now." She considered this. "So helping me helps you?" "In a way, yeah. But that's not why I'm doing it. Then why? Jake stopped walking and looked at her. Because you matter. Your life has value just like everyone else's. No one had ever said anything like that to her before. In her world, her value came from being a princess, from being strong and smart. The idea that she mattered just for being alive was strange and wonderful. That night they found shelter in a small cave. Jake started a fire while Zarathel used a device from her armor to scan the area for dangers. There are acid geysers 2 miles ahead, she reported. They shoot up without warning. The ground around them is not stable. Can we go around them? She shook her head. They cover the whole valley. We must go through. Jake nodded. Then we'll go through. You'll help me spot them? Yes, she said. Then, more quietly, why do you trust me to help you? Why wouldn't I? I am your prisoner. I could lead you into danger. Jake poked at the fire with a stick. Are you planning to do that? No. Then I'll trust you. This simple trust amazed her. Her own people never trusted anyone completely. There were always schemes and plots and people trying to gain advantage over each other. The next morning they entered the geyser valley. The ground was covered with holes where acid had eaten through the rock. Some of the holes still steamed with dangerous fumes. Zarathel watched her scanner carefully. Stop, she said suddenly. Geyser about to erupt 30 feet ahead. Jake stopped, pulling the stretcher just as a fountain of green acid shot up from the ground where they would have been walking. Thanks, Jake said. That would have been bad. They picked their way carefully through the dangerous ground. Several times, Zarathel's warnings saved them from stepping on weak spots that would have collapsed under their weight. Left now, she called out. There's a safe path along the ridge. Jake followed her directions without question. When they finally made it out of the valley, they were both exhausted but alive. We work well together, Zarathel said, sounding surprised. Yeah, we do. Among my people, working with someone else is seen as weakness. A true warrior needs no help. Jake laughed. That's crazy. Humans work together all the time. It's how we built cities and spaceships and everything else. But does that not make you dependent on others? Sure, but they depend on us too. We all help each other. That evening, as Jake was checking her bandages, Zarathel asked, What will happen to me when we reach your people? I don't know, Jake said honestly. Probably they'll want to ask you questions about your species, but they won't hurt you. How? Can you be sure? Because you're hurt and you need help. Humans don't harm people who need help. She was quiet for a long time. Your people sound very different from mine. Maybe, but I bet we're more alike than you think. How? Jake finished wrapping her bandages. I bet your people love their children. I bet they feel sad when friends die. I bet they want to be happy and safe. She nodded slowly. Yes, we do want those things. Then we're not so different after all. As they traveled, Zarathel began to understand something that her people had never taught her. Strength wasn't just about fighting and winning. Sometimes the strongest thing you could do was help someone else, even when it cost you something. Watching Jake struggle to pull her stretcher day after day, never complaining, never giving up, she began to see a different kind of courage. It wasn't the courage of a warrior in battle. It was the courage of someone who chose to do right even when it was hard. For the first time in her life, she wondered if her people might be wrong about strength and weakness. Maybe the humans understood something that the Velthani had forgotten. On the 4th day, they heard gunfire in the distance. Jake stopped pulling the stretcher and listened carefully. The sounds were coming from a hill about a mile away. He could hear alien weapons mixed with the roars of some kind of large animals. That's my people, Zarathel said, her face going pale. They're in trouble. Jake looked through his binoculars. He could see 2 tall figures in black armor running from a pack of 6-legged creatures that looked like giant wolves with metal teeth. Those are the same 2 who left you behind? Jake asked. Yes. Commander Vexhai and Lieutenant Carnell. Jake watched the scene below. The 2 aliens were trapped on top of a rock formation. The wolf creatures were circling below them, waiting for them to come down or fall. "They're going to die," Zarathel said quietly. "Looks like it," Jake agreed. He kept watching through the binoculars. The aliens' weapons were running low on power. Soon they wouldn't be able to keep the creatures away. "We should help them," Jake said. Zarathel stared at him. "What?" "They're in trouble. We should help." "They left me to die," she said. "Why would you want to save them?" Jake lowered his binoculars. "Because they're in trouble and we can help." "That makes no sense. They are your enemies." "They would not help you." "Maybe not, but that doesn't change what we should do." Zarathel couldn't believe what she was hearing. "Jake, they abandoned me. They walked away and left me to die alone. You owe them nothing." "I don't do the right thing because people owe me," Jake said. "I do it because it's right." He started pushing the stretcher toward a safe spot behind some rocks. "Stay here. I'll be back." "You cannot fight 6 death hounds alone," Zarathel called after him. "Probably not," Jake called back. "But I have to try." Jake ran toward the sounds of fighting. He had 2 grenades, a rifle, and about 60 bullets. It wasn't much against 6 of those metal-toothed monsters. When he got closer, he could see the situation was even worse than he thought. One of the aliens was already wounded and bleeding. The creatures were getting bolder, jumping higher up the rocks. Jake found a good spot and aimed carefully. His first shot hit one of the creatures in the head, dropping it instantly. The others turned toward him, snarling. Now would be a good time for some help, Jake muttered to himself. 2 of the creatures charged at him. Jake rolled behind a boulder just as metal claws scraped against stone. He popped up and fired again, wounding another creature. From the rock, "Formation!" the alien commander shouted something in his own language. Jake didn't understand the words, but the tone was clear. Who was this crazy human and why was he helping them? One of Jake's grenades scattered 3 of the remaining creatures, but they regrouped quickly. These things were smart and tough. Jake was down to his last few bullets when he heard a familiar voice behind him. "Jake, down!" He dropped to the ground just as energy blasts flew over his head. Zarathel was firing a weapon she had taken from her crashed ship. Her shots were perfect, hitting 2 creatures' center mass. "I thought I told you to stay put," Jake said as they crouched behind cover together. "I do not take orders from primitives," she said, but she was smiling. The last remaining creature decided it didn't like the odds and ran away into the hills. Commander Vexhai and Lieutenant Carnell climbed down from their rock. Both were staring, in shock at Jake and Zarathel. Vexhai spoke first, his voice filled with disbelief. "Princess? You are alive?" "No thanks to you," Zarathel said coldly. The commander looked at Jake, then back at the princess. "This human? He saved you?" "He carried me 30 miles through hostile terrain," Zarathel said. "He gave me medicine, food, and water from his own supplies. He risked his life to save mine." Lieutenant Carnell stepped forward. "Princess, we followed the laws of our people. The injured must not slow down the strong." "And where did those laws get you?" Zarathel asked. "Trapped and about to be eaten by death hounds." "That is different," Vexhai said. "We were not injured when we left you." "But you were weaker for abandoning me," she replied. "This human shows more strength and honor than both of you combined." Jake didn't understand all of what they were saying, but he could tell it was tense. The 2 male aliens kept looking at him like they couldn't figure out what he was. "Princess," Vexhai said carefully, "we are here now. We can carry you the rest of the way to safety. You do not need this human anymore." Zarathel looked at Jake, then back at her people. No, Carnell asked. "I trust Jake more than I trust either of you. He has proven his loyalty. You have proven that you will abandon me when things get difficult." The 2 commanders looked shocked. Among their people, blood loyalty was supposed to be the strongest bond. The idea that their princess would trust an alien over her own people was unthinkable. "Princess, you cannot mean this," Vexhai said. "I mean every word," she replied firmly. Jake stepped forward. Look, I don't want to cause problems between you and your people. You are not causing problems, Zarathel said. You are revealing truths that were already there. She turned to face her commanders. Tell me, why did you come back looking for me? The two aliens looked uncomfortable. We received orders to search for survivors, Vexhai admitted. So you did not come back out of loyalty or concern for my welfare? We follow orders, Princess. Jake follows no orders to help me. No one told him to save my life. He chose to do it because he believes it is right. She looked at Jake with something like wonder in her eyes. He has shown me that there are different kinds of strength. Vexhai was getting angry now. Princess, this human has filled your head with weak thoughts. When we return home, you will remember the proper ways of our people. Will I? Zarathel asked. Or will I remember that when I was dying, my own guards left me behind while a human risked everything to save me? Jake could see that this conversation was getting heated. Maybe we should focus on getting everyone to safety, he suggested. Vexhai looked at him with suspicion. What do you want from our princess, human? Nothing, Jake said honestly. I just want to get her somewhere safe so she can heal. You expect nothing in return for saving her life? Nope. This answer seemed to confuse both aliens even more. In their culture, everything was a transaction. Nobody did anything without expecting something back. This is not natural, Carnell muttered. Maybe not, Jake said. But it's human. As they prepared to continue the journey together, Zarathel watched her commanders struggle to understand Jake's motives. They kept looking for hidden reasons, secret plans, some advantage he was trying to gain. They couldn't accept that he had helped her simply because she needed help. And that, she realized, was exactly the problem with her people's way of thinking. The human rescue ship arrived exactly on time. Jake had never been so happy to see the familiar blue and white colors of Earth Defense Force. Captain Lisa Hayes stepped out of the transport with a full medical team. She took one look at Jake, who was exhausted and filthy, then at the three tall aliens behind him. Morrison, she said, you have some explaining to do. Yes, ma'am, Jake replied. But first, the princess needs medical attention. The human doctors moved quickly to help. Zarathel. She let them work on her, but her purple eyes stayed focused on Jake. Will they heal me? She asked. They'll do their best, Jake promised. As the medical team loaded her onto a proper stretcher, she grabbed Jake's hand. Thank you, she said, quietly. You're welcome. Commander Vexhai watched this exchange with growing confusion. Princess, why do you trust these humans? They are not our people. No, Zarathel said, still looking at Jake. They are better than our people. This statement hit the commander like a physical blow. Princess, you cannot mean that. I mean exactly that. This human showed me more loyalty in 5 days than you have shown in 5 years of service. Captain Hayes approached them carefully. I'm Captain Lisa Hayes, Earth Defense Force. You're on a human ship now and you're under our protection. Vexhai straightened up to his full 7-foot height. I am Commander Vexhai of the Valthani Imperial Guard. We demand that you return our princess to us immediately. The princess can go wherever she wants, Hayes said calmly. But first she's going to recover from her injuries. Over the next 3 days, as Zarathel healed in the ship's medical bay, she had many visitors. Human doctors, scientists, and diplomats all wanted to meet the first Valthani they had ever seen. But mostly she talked with Jake. Your people are very different from what I expected, she told him one afternoon. What did you expect? Warriors, conquerors, people who would try to use me for their own gain. Jake smiled. Some humans are like that, but most of us just want to get along with everyone. Even people who might be your enemies, especially people who might be our enemies. It's easier to make friends than fight wars. Zarathel nodded slowly. I am beginning to understand this. On the 3rd day, a massive Valthani warship appeared near the human vessel. Zarathel's father, Emperor Zakthul, had come to retrieve his daughter. The meeting between human and Valthani leaders took place in the ship's main conference room. Emperor Zakthul was even taller than his guards, with silver hair and eyes, like burning stars. "I have come for my daughter," he announced. "She's free to go whenever she wants," Captain Hayes replied. The Emperor looked confused. "You do not demand payment for her return? You ask for no trade agreements or military alliances?" "Nope. We helped her because she needed help, that's all." This answer clearly bothered the Emperor. In his world, everything had a price. Zarathel entered the room walking slowly but steadily. Her injuries were mostly healed thanks to human medicine. "Father," she said, bowing slightly. "Daughter, I am told that these humans saved your life after your guards left you to die." "That is correct." Emperor Zakthul turned to look at Jake. "You are the one who carried my daughter to safety?" "Yes, sir." "Why?" Jake had been asked this question so many times over the past few days that he was getting tired of it. "Because she needed help and I could provide it. That is all?" "That's all." The Emperor studied Jake for a long moment. "My daughter tells me that you risked your life for hers even though she offered you nothing in return." "Yes, sir. This is not logical behavior." "Maybe not," Jake admitted. "But it felt like the right thing to do. The right thing." The Emperor spoke these words like he was tasting them. "Explain this concept to me." Jake looked at Zarathel, who nodded encouragingly. "Well," Jake said, "humans believe that everyone deserves a chance to live. Rich or poor, strong or weak, friend or enemy. When someone needs help and we can provide it, we should. Even if helping them might hurt you? Even then. And you expect nothing in return?" "Nothing." Emperor Zakthul was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke to his daughter. "Is this true? Did this human expect no reward for saving your life?" "None, father. He gave me food from his own supplies. He carried me 50 miles through dangerous terrain. He fought deadly creatures to protect me, and when I asked him why, he said it was simply the right thing to do." The Emperor turned back to Jake. "You have done something no Valthani has ever done. You have shown kindness to a stranger with no expectation of gain." "Lots of humans would have done the same thing," Jake said. "Perhaps. But you are the one who did it." The Emperor paused. "I owe you a debt that cannot be repaid." "You don't owe me anything, sir." This response seemed to surprise the Emperor even more. "You refuse payment for saving the life of an imperial princess?" "I don't need payment for doing what's right." Zarathel stepped forward. "Father, I have learned much from this human and his people. I believe we could learn much from them as well." "What do you mean, daughter?" "I mean that maybe strength is not just about conquest and dominance. Maybe true strength comes from protecting those who need protection." Emperor Zakthul looked at his daughter with new eyes. "You have changed." "Yes, I have. This human showed me that there is honor in helping others, even when they cannot help you back. He showed me that a society grows stronger when it cares for its weakest members." The Emperor was quiet for several minutes. Everyone in the room waited to see what he would say. "For 1,000 years," he said finally, "the Valthani have conquered and dominated other species. We believed that this made us strong." He looked at Jake, then at his daughter. "But my daughter is alive today because a member of a weak species chose to save her when her own people left her to die. Perhaps we have been wrong about what makes a species truly strong." 3 months later, the first Valthani embassy opened on Earth. Princess Zarathel was chosen as the first ambassador from her people, and Jake Morrison, the Marine who had risked everything to save an alien princess, became the first human to receive the Valthani Medal of Honor. But Jake didn't keep the medal for himself. He gave it to the hospital where his little sister had been treated years ago, with a note that said, "For everyone who helps strangers in need." Because that, Jake knew, was what being human was really about.